But actually, the framework about product management is developing something of value that can delight customers, that can generate revenue, and that can help you give you a competitive edge. To me, that is what product management is. You want to deliver that for your business.
And we're live from the Bay HQ lab. Today we have with us Kishan Bharwad, who is the head of product at Taskize. They're an intercompany workflow platform for financial services. Today, Kishan's chosen to talk about how to develop a product mindset and how to help you in your career and to build a successful company. So, Kishan, why did you choose this topic? Why is this so important to you?
Yeah, well, great to be here. Amar, thanks for having me on. So I think one of the things that is misunderstood about product management, I'm a product professional. I'm a head of product at a tech company. Product management is often seen as a tech thing, right? You manage a product, you work and you work with development teams, you work with your stakeholders, you design something and you release something. That's a very sort of small, narrow-minded approach to looking at product management. But actually, the framework about product management is developing something of value that can delight customers, that can generate revenue, and that can help you give you a competitive edge. To me, that is what product management is. You want to deliver that for your business. And I think too often it's pigeonholed as a tech thing, but actually it can be broadened out to so many other aspects in different careers. I think there's so much value in taking a product-led approach or a product-led mindset to not just technology services and platforms, but also any other type of business. And I think that's why I think it's a very overlooked thing.
And how do you feel like that product mindset's helped you in your own career and what you're building at Taskize?
Yeah, I think so. Prior to joining Taskize, I worked in financial services. I worked at NatWest Capital Markets, and I sort of worked on their technology program there. And everything I did was a tool to bring new products to market. So removing technology, removing barriers to entry, developing new services, etc., or unblocking some issues that might help us get products to market quicker. And very quickly realize that everything that you do within the company is about delivering value for your customers. And whether it's in the technology part of the business, whether you're in HR, whether you're in finance, it's all about optimizing for the business, maybe, but ultimately for the customer. And once you kind of realize that, you start unlocking abilities in yourself and you start seeing things a little bit differently. And I wasn't necessarily a product professional in my career at NatWest Capital Markets, but when my managing director at the time, he left and he started the company that I work for now, Taskize, he approached me and he kind of saw that in me and kind of realized actually what you're doing is product management. You're looking at problems, you're looking at how to deliver value to customers, you're looking at what that means for the business, and you're looking at how you can be better than your competitors. So you're taking whatever you're doing and you're applying that framework. So why don't you come and join me, because we need some of those skills in that company, in the startup that he founded, which is Taskize. And so that approach to everything I did, so I started as QA at that company, doing quality assurance, testing, but keeping that same mindset. What I'm testing, if I'm testing this piece of code to make sure that it works, is it going to, again, I keep repeating it, is it going to delight customers? Is it going to, if it doesn't quite work, does it matter? Because it won't, is it going to deliver me revenue? Is it going to make customers pay? Right. And if it doesn't work, does it really matter because no competitors are doing it? Right. So you kind of start scrutinizing everything you do with that product mindset. And so yeah, I did a little bit of that. I did customer success. So I worked with customers as part of the role at the company early on, client delivery and customer success, and ultimately into sort of product management. And I think having that sort of, it's a very entrepreneurial mindset within a company, thinking about what you're doing through the lens of product can prove to be really successful. And I think it can give you the opportunity to do things in any business, in any industry, if you take that approach.
So it's obviously like you've now Taskize has grown significantly as you've been part of that journey too. And let's say somebody's right at the beginning of their journey, or they're just the new product manager or the new set kind of a role, what's the key things that you're looking out for to think like to make sure they get into the right mindset? If what's the traits that maybe you think makes a good product manager?
I think maybe we'll take each of those things that I mentioned, customer, revenue, and competitors, and we'll take each one of those individually, because I think those are where I think you should start as a product manager. I think if you want to get into this kind of profession, you've got to be focused on the customer. Who is that customer? What do they want? What are their desires? What are their motives? What problem do they have in their life that needs to be solved? And what are they willing to pay for? Is that problem big enough for them to pay for it? You may have a problem that you've got, but like, I don't care, I'll live with that. It's not worth paying for it. So start with the customer, start analyzing who that is and understand where they, all those aspects of who you're delivering value to. And then look inside and say, how can we help this person? How can we help this customer? Whether it's B2B, it might be another organization that you're trying to help. So it might be a buyer at an organization and his team, or it might be an individual if you're B2C, right? So that individual person. So really start building a picture and say, how do I really help this customer achieve and solve their problems? And if you start developing that way of thinking, you kind of remove all the things that are unnecessary, right? You can easily say no to things, right? Does the customer care, right? Do they even care about this? Will they use this? Will that really solve their problem? Why don't I show them what I'm doing? Why don't I show them what I'm thinking of delivering? Do they like it? Do they think it's going to solve their problem? It's a really easy way to say no, because your mind can wander in loads of different directions, right? So the first thing is, go in, show that you care about the customer, because that's if you deliver for the customer, you'll end up delivering for the business, right? So that's the first thing I'd say. The second is revenue. So one thing that product professionals often mistake their role for is, I've got to design a feature and deliver it for the customer. Problems come in, or someone's told me I've got to do something, or someone in my business said it'd be great if we had this feature, or a customer's always been asking for this feature. So you go and deliver it the best you can, and then you release it, and then you realize no one's using it, or you realize no one cares, or you realize that it was the wrong thing to do, right? Because it was for a segment that wasn't really that important to your business, and you're letting other people prioritize what you should be doing as a product manager. And actually what you should be doing is, okay, I'm going to deliver this feature, but how are we going to monetize it? What's the business model around it? How are we going to pay for it? Is there a long-term strategy to this? Is this a free thing that I can give them that's going to get them easier access to a new part of the product that has a paywall, so they kind of get a little bit of value? It's a really bad analogy that my co-founder used to use, but like the crack cocaine kind of analogy. All right, give them a little bit of something that they really like, and then get them to pay for it. Is that the strategy? So always be thinking commercially as a product. I think a lot of product professionals don't think commercially enough. So how am I going to deliver value? Who is this customer? How am I going to solve problems for them? And then how am I going to generate revenue? We had a very interesting sort of first few years at Taskize. We were a networked product. Now, a networked product like Facebook or a Twitter, how do you monetize something like that if you're the first person in the room, right? If you go in somewhere and you're selling a network and you go in and there's no one there, you're going to leave, right? But if you go in there and there's loads of people there, you start enjoying it because it's a networking, start networking. So we had a really tough time thinking about how we can monetize this. And we're only just coming to realize it's a really hard thing to do with the network product. We're only just realizing how to navigate that commercial landscape with a networked product. So it's not easy, but you've got to spend the energy and time in thinking about how you do that. And the last one is competition, right? So you could again go and put these three threads together. You could do everything for the customer. It makes revenue, it delights the customer and it makes revenue, but loads of other people are doing it, and they're probably doing it for longer and they're doing it better. So you have to have a little bit of eye on the competition. And it may be that you do the same thing for a different market. Maybe you do the same thing but cheaper, or you do the same thing but better. So you always got to keep an eye out on the product. And if you take all those three things and you apply that to your business, whether it be you as a consultant in your area of work, whether you're in tech or whether you're in any kind of finance, whatever it is. If you take that approach, you start really becoming really valuable to the business, because that's what all businesses care about. Ultimately those three things.
And it's obviously as well for entrepreneurs themselves, because a lot of the time at the beginning, they might be the product person themselves. They're starting out a business, they maybe can't get people involved enough yet. They have to think about this product mindset themselves. And that's a huge challenge, right? When you get somebody from external who's got experience already, you can build that mindset and kind of come with that. But for some people listening right now, they're going to try and teach themselves from scratch because they don't have the runway or the ability to hire people like that. And people maybe not from a product background, what would you say is like maybe the biggest mistake they make when they try to enter that kind of a world, when they're trying to use their previous information? Like, what do you see the common pitfalls that people and mistakes people make?
Do you mean founders and entrepreneurs that don't come from a product background?
Yeah, so is that, or it's people who are being put into a product role that they're unfamiliar with as well?
It's a tough one to answer, because I think entrepreneurs and the topic that we spoke about offline, entrepreneurs, they kind of naturally have a product mindset, I think. And if you're an entrepreneur, you kind of have those things in the back of your mind. I think one thing that the key is to put those three together, because individually they don't really, you can go down rabbit holes. Somebody from a technology background that starts a company, or somebody from a technology background that moves into product, generally just like solving problems, and they think that their role is to develop functionality, gold plate it, do the best thing possible, make it as quick as possible, make it as fast as possible, make it as easy as possible, but forget about commercials and they forget about the competition. Somebody that comes from a marketing or product, like a business analyst background or a marketing background, normally founders are either tech or marketing, they come from it as, how am I going to sell this thing? How am I going to market this thing to people? And then they often neglect the product and the feature itself that the technology would kind of complement. And I think you need both. If you have a great product but nobody to kind of market it to, you're not going to sell. If you've not got a great product but you know how to get to people, but the product's no good, you're going to get them to your door, but you're not going to get them to stay. So you kind of need both. You need great product and great distribution. And I think basically it's technology meets marketing, and often you see the two come together. And what I've found in experience in where I work and teams I've worked in is that you need either one person that is really sort of has both, but wears both hats and can see both things, or you need two different people. Actually, you need to have somebody that knows how to solve problems, knows how to build technology, and then somebody that knows how to take that technology and sell it to the hearts and minds of the customers that and the market that you want to deliver to. It's rare to find it in an individual. It's rare to find both. If you do find someone like that, bring them on board if you're an entrepreneur starting a business. If you've not, and you're one of those people, I advise you to bring somebody on that can complement that part.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. The Bay HQ has a podcast, but we're so much more than that. So if you want to find out about all of the events we've got going on, all the different ways you can meet each other, as well as resources to help you build the business of your dreams, then check out the link in the show notes, sign up to our newsletter, where you get a weekly roundup, which we like to call the Bay Letter, that will keep you in the loop. If you want to help us out, the best thing you can possibly do is sign up to our newsletter and share it with your friends. So that's enough from me now. Let's get back to the show. And we talked about it before as well, but how do you measure this, right? How do you know if you're doing, it's hard to tell sometimes if you're doing well with a product, because let's say, for example, with a network, it can be a while before you really start seeing the revenue coming in from that. So how do you know you're on the right path? How do you know you're doing things the right way?
You're going to come to learn that I like threes. So there's another 3-part framework for your audience to take away from this maybe. So in product management, there's measuring success is very important. When you deliver product, you design something and you deliver it, your engineers build it. The delivery team, everyone celebrates. Right? Everyone celebrates, we've delivered this feature, we've delivered this new product. Really, only the engineering team should be celebrating at that point, because their job's done. The product team, their job's only just started, because now you've got to wait and see. This thing that I thought was going to add value to my customers and business has just gone out there, is about to be used, and I won't know until it's delivered value until a few months later. right? Until it starts generating revenue, so it starts getting feedback. So the first step to understanding success is don't celebrate once it's out the door, right? As a product manager, it sounds quite negative, but that's the first step: is to realize that success. Don't sit back, because that's when your measure of success starts. The things you need to measure are: do my customers, or do the people that I've delivered this to, qualitatively, do they tell me they like what I've delivered, right? Just, I like it, I think it adds value, this is great, I love it, or no, I hate it, this is bad, this isn't solving my problem. What are they saying, right? Then the data. What does the data say? Regardless of what they're saying, what does the data say that they're using it? Are they using it in the way you intended for them to use it? Are they using it and staying on your product for longer? All right. Or even if you're a consultant, if you're selling your services and they're buying more and they're continuing and they're paying greater retainers, right? And what does the data say about their usage? Is it sticky? And then the third is it delivering the value it intended to deliver? So let's say, for example, I delivered a product that was supposed to make it easy. I'm just looking at my lawn here, right? I delivered a product that was making it easier to mow my lawn, right? Customers loved it. The data says they use it, but actually it doesn't. It's taking the same time it takes to mow the lawn than it is in the previous products, right? So is it actually delivering the value? Because these first 2 points could give you a false impression of success, right? Is it actually delivering value? Is going to show you whether it's going to give you long-term success or not. And you've got to figure out ways, and it's going to be different for every business, for every type of product, how you measure those things, like surveys for the first thing, just talking to users for getting that qualitative feedback. There's tools and things you can put on the back end to your system to measure whether it's sticky and whether it's being used. And the third one's a little bit hard. You're going to need to get access to the customer and measure and be objective about it, right? Just say, look, I said I was going to do this thing for you. You've said you like it. The data says you're using it, but I really want to tell you if I've actually done a good job. So can you compare whether what I've done is actually quicker, easier, faster, whatever it was supposed to be? Because only then are you going to know, have you been successful, and whether you should continue doing that.
Have you got a successful example of that from Taskize itself, of where you went through that process and you learned from the customer feedback and from the data that proved that? Just to give an example for people of like in action.
Actually, I've got an example of something that we're still learning from, actually. So there was a bit of functionality that we delivered that was supposed to. So our platform, you can manually create what we call bubbles. Bubbles are like problem tickets that you can share into company to solve transaction-related problems. And so we were creating these. You can manually create them. You can automatically create them. One of our clients asked to create something called to schedule them, right? To schedule them at a specific time and have them automated and have them land on the user's desk in the morning so they can work on them throughout the day. So we delivered this bit of functionality. I won't go into too much detail about it, but it was intended to do what it was supposed to do, right? So I'll ignore the first one for a minute about the customer feedback. But the second one around, was it used? Yes, it was used. It was used a lot. It was used every day. It was used by the business. It was giving them insights. So win. The third one, was it delivering value? It was. It was delivering value because the business were telling us, actually, we can now see more. We're now able to have insight into problems and issues that we didn't have insight into before. So it's delivering business insights and value. That was what we were supposed to do. So tick, right? I'm skimming over all the detail here, but those two aspects were met. The first one, customer delight, users did not like it, right? And users do not like it, right? So it was pushed on them by senior management. They didn't like having to use it. It was clunky. They had to manually go in. It actually increased their workload. So they were using it loads, but that's not a good sign of it delivering delight, right? And so we were just learning this and actually thinking, for long-term success of the product, if we want to tick all three boxes, we're going to have to make the user experience better. We're going to have to refine that, because yes, it's delivering business value, and yes, it's being used heavily, which is good for our product. But ultimately, if it's like organ rejection by the users, at some point it's going to fall apart. So we've got to address this. So it was an interesting learning curve. You've got to think about all of those aspects. It's very easy to look at one and see success and not realize that there's all these other aspects you've got to consider. Yeah.
There's something I talked to recently, and what they're trying to do is make a certain business process a lot quicker and easier. So it's funny, their metric is people spending the least time possible using it, because that means that it's speeding up the time, right? So it's interesting to see this, like you said, where it's thinking about what's your product aims and making sure that you're hitting those aims. So for them, if people only need to use the product for 10 minutes a day, it was delivering what they needed it to do. That's perfect. But for a network, for example, that's where it makes more sense. Like, for example, with social media, right? The more time people spend on Twitter, the better it is for Twitter, because there's more content. It's that viral loop. And it's always interesting to think about that. Like whoever's listening, when you think about your product, is it a time saver, or is it something which the more time spent in it, the more, like, what's the relationship between value and time there?
That's a really interesting to consider, isn't it? It's like I'm delivering business value by only using it for 10 minutes a day, whereas naively you might think the more you use it, the better it is, right? And for businesses like that, it's like, okay, well, do they use it every day for 10 minutes? That's great, right? Are they using it every day? Is it sticky? Are they paying for it? And they're paying for the pleasure of only using it for 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day. And with like Twitter or social networks, is people are using it every day. That's great. Engagement is really high, but people hate it. And then we're starting to see drop-offs. So the people that do use it loads, but we're starting to see people stop using it because they're harming their quality of life. Right? I mean, those are easy examples to picture because it's quite relevant. But there's loads of different sort of aspects to looking at product. And the point we made about earlier is, I think often, I talk about technology because I'm in the industry. I work in technology product management, but there's nothing stopping applying all those three things to whatever it is that you're doing. I always come back to consultants because I think that consulting is very much a human service driven business. But there's no reason why you can't apply that same framework to consultancy. Right? Am I delighting customers? Am I better than my competitors? Am I delivering value? Am I sticky? Right, and they're retaining. Right, as a product, as a consultant, as a product that I'm delivering, am I objectively better, delivering more value than others?
Yeah. I think, like I said there, so a lot of the practices from tech, because of generally in tech, the feedback loops are faster than lots of other industries, right? But that means that you can develop some of these systems, but they do work in other industries too. And you might just have to adjust the timelines when that comes into play. Even say bricks and mortar stores, whatever you're doing, those same concepts are still important. And you need to be more diligent about how you collect that data and thinking about it. Whereas usually with tech, you can just see, okay, use data usage. Are they using it? Are they not using it? But if you think about it in terms of footfall, for example, let's say we're a shop, right? They say, okay, we made this change to the shop. And then because of that, more people, we have the same number of people walking past the shop every day. More people now walking in because change display. That's a good sign. But are they coming in? Do they enjoy coming into the store after that? That's your customer delight. But then, let's say the other aspect is, did they see it in the shop window, but didn't actually find something they wanted to buy? Then you're not actually delivering on that, right? So, like I said, it's always different ways you can apply it. And I think for the audience listening, it's going to be really interesting for them to try to apply it to whatever business they're working in or what the business is trying to create. So we're coming towards the end now. And what I'd love to learn from you is what's next up for you? Where are you taking your product mindset? Whether it's Taskize or other things you're thinking about right now that excite you?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We're going through a little bit of I'd say the biggest strength I have as a product professional is strategy and vision, and something I really enjoy, understanding our customers and then thinking about the problems now and what the future looks like and how we're going to solve problems. So for me at the moment, it's how we've got a certain product and we've got something that we're doing, but in 5 years' time, what does the industry look like then? And how can we be best placed to serve that industry as technology moves forward, as regulation moves forward, as new products and services come online and to market? So how can we in a position there? And I think for me, that's the most interesting thing, thinking forward. I think Amazon and Jeff Bezos kind of used to say he doesn't celebrate this quarter. He always looks at the next quarter, or like he's already defining what he's going to be earning in the next 2 quarters. And that's kind of where I want to get to, is looking more forward thinking, because we have a little bit of the luxury of doing that now, because we've been around for like 5 and 6 years. One of the big topics in product management right now is product-led growth. You probably heard of this phrase around how you can lead growth in your company through product, making product the more important front of house business than sales, right? Because sales is often seen as, we bring in the money, you deliver the product that we tell you to deliver, right? Whereas actually product-led growth is flipping that on its head a little bit and saying, we know our customers better. We think we can generate the revenue more so by being more autonomous and independent. I'm probably doing the definition of product-led growth a little bit of a disservice there. But looking more into that aspect, right, of work, because with B2B, it's a little bit more difficult to take that mindset, because you don't have direct control of the person that pays the bills, right? Our users aren't necessarily the people that pay. The person that pays is a senior leader within the bank. They pay. They make the decision to purchase. The product is then used by the teams and the boots on the ground. So I'm trying to think about how we can take Taskize and the company, and how we can sort of inject product-led growth in there to let product be able to do some of that, create that revenue, and be more impactful to the business in conjunction with sales, right? So they're I guess the two sort of things I'm looking at in Taskize. Yeah.
So if people want to find out more about you, find out more about Taskize, where should they be going to?
Probably LinkedIn. Yeah, LinkedIn is the best place. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just Google my name, search me on LinkedIn. I'm not as active as I like talking about this stuff. I'm really passionate about product management and entrepreneurship and the value that you can bring within an organization through taking these approaches. But I don't share enough, and I think this is the start of I'm starting to do that a little bit more. So search me on LinkedIn. You won't find much there, but if you do, you'll start to see more coming, hopefully. What I'm doing at Taskize with intercompany workflow in financial services and other stuff that you might find interesting. Yeah.
Perfect. Is there any way that somebody listening right now might be able to help you or might be able to help Taskize?
Other product professionals. Yeah, if you're into, I don't network with my profession enough, actually. If you're a product leader, if you want to get into product, if you're into product management and at the moment, and you're like looking for people to bounce ideas off, maybe you're struggling with like strategy, or I'm struggling with aspects of like agile and implementing agile frameworks and delivering product better. So I'd love some sort of advice or bounce ideas off that. So if you're in the product space, just hit me up. Or if you're a founder, an entrepreneur, and you're looking for like advice on that type of thing, I'm more than happy to talk. Happy to share. I'm in the sharing stage of my career at the moment, as well as building. Yeah.
The final question before you head off is, who are 3 British Asians that you'd love to shout out that you think they're doing great work and people should be paying attention to them?
Yeah, good question. I like the opportunity to shout people out. I think that's a great idea. The first 2 are going to be from the same company, Tuck, who you and I know very well. So Dhruv Rampura and Neil Thakra. Brilliant product, brilliant guys. I think no one works as hard as I've seen in the founder world as those 2. They probably are equally hardworking people, but they work very hard. They've got great product, and I think they're onto something. I've been really happy to help them on their journey. I hope they find value in what I've been able to help them with. So definitely a shout out to those guys. So I'm not going to say it, I think it's tuck.co, but Tuck on LinkedIn, Tuck on Instagram, I think you can find them there. And another guy, you can find him on LinkedIn. He's not as active, but a guy called Rishi Patel. His family business, PME Cake. Really insightful, really knowledgeable guy. Has a lot to say about business. really passionate about our business. I often, we talked about those three different aspects of product management. Everyone has a tendency in somewhere they lean. I lean towards solving problems and building a great product. He kind of has a very good, well, how are you going to sell it? What's the unit economics? How are you going to deliver it and logistically? So it kind of keeps me grounded in that respect. So shout out to him, definitely. Rishi Patel of PME Cake.
So thanks so much for coming on, Kishan. I think you've helped many people today.
Great, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much for listening. It means a huge amount to us, and we don't think you realise how important you are, because if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, if you leave us a 5-star review, it makes a world of difference. And if you believe in what we're trying to do here, to inspire, connect and guide the next generation of British Asians, if you do those things, you can help us achieve that mission, and you can help us make a bigger impact. And by doing that, it means we can get bigger guests, we can host more events, we can do more for the community. So you can play a huge part. So thank you so much for supporting us.